Welcome to the Vasomedical educational video on the setup and use of the model 2301 and 2302 combined ECG and ambulatory blood pressure monitor. When you receive the kit from Vasomedical, it will include the following items as shown in front of you. There is the device, which we will go over the setup and use in a few minutes. There's also a case for the patient to carry the device, along with a belt if they choose to wear it around their waist, or a set of lanyards if they prefer to wear it around their neck. Also included is a set of ECG leads, and depending on which device, there'll be either 5, 7, or 10 electrode lead connections in your kit. Also included is the ambulatory blood pressure cuff, a copy of the CB series software or the ARC software, a card reader for reading the memory card from the device and presetting for the patient. It also includes an infrared device which ports to the side. As you can see here, there's an infrared port, and this is used for presetting only, which sometimes can be convenient if you already have the device on the patient or ready to be put on the patient and you hadn't preset the recorder. Also included is the user manual for the 2301 or 2302, which provides much greater detail than we will cover on this short video. To begin with, let's look at the device. The device has a display window for reviewing the setup menu parameters, also has an R and an L button for left and right, and those are used to step through the menu and select appropriate items. There's also a plug in the bottom of the device for plugging in the electrode leads, and a small port for plugging in the ambulatory blood pressure cuff. And again, the infrared port on the side if you choose to use that. To begin with, let's turn the device over and snap the cover open. Inside the device is a place for 3 or 4 AA batteries. You see I have the 4th one removed, which turns the device off. And we'll insert that in a minute. Also in the side is the SD memory card where the patient preset information is recorded and saved, and also the data from the ECG and blood pressure measurements are stored. To remove it, just depress it and it will pop out. You can remove it. Then if you wish to preset the patient information, you use the included card reader. You take the caps off both ends of the device, and you can insert the memory card into the reader. You can then place the card reader into your PC. And when you open the software, it will recognize the device, and to begin with, you can preset the patient information. After the patient comes back after the tests, you can plug it in again, remove it from the device, plug it in again, and you can then download the data for analysis. So to get started, let's take the memory card out. We'll assume we preset patient information. We'll place it back in the device, depress it, and it will click into place. We will now put the 4th battery in. It turns the device on, and it will come up with the message you see here, wait preset. That will remain until you move it forward. You can move it forward by depressing either one or both of the buttons, the L or the R. At this point, you come to the first menu. In this case, it says show ECG. You have an ECG heartbeat there. And from here, if you want to look at that particular selection, push the R button, and it will display each of the ECG leads. In this case, this is a 2301, so we have 3 channels, and you can see I'm cycling through. Now we're now looking at the 2nd channel, in this case the 3rd channel, and you're back to the 1st. If it's a 12, or if it's a 12 channel, you'll be able to see 12 ECG lead signals. In this case, we have no ECG lead's hooked up, so there's no signal to observe, but normally you would see that. To get back out of here, just click the R button. We're back to the main menu. At this point, we can use the L button to step through the menu. The L button will always step you through or select an item within a menu. So now you could do a test blood pressure, a manual blood pressure measurement. To do that, you just click the R button and it will begin a test. In this case, we don't have the cuff hooked up, so we'll just abort it by clicking both buttons at the same time and it'll stop. Use back to the L button, we go to the next menu item, which is recorder set. In this case, we can go through the parameters that are selectable. We'll click the R button to select it. The first is the timing mode. If we want to go into the timing mode, we have a choice of constant or floating, and we can modify that. The difference is, as explained in the user manual, with constant, it does all the blood pressure measurements sequentially as you set up in your parameters, which you'll see in a minute. For floating, if there's an ECG issue that causes, let's say, a tachy event, it will delay that blood pressure measurement until that event's over. And from there forward, it will resume the timing that you selected on the sequence of the blood pressure measurements, but it will be offset by that amount of time, whether it's 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes for the abnormal event. So I'm going to just leave it as constant, select the R button, and go from there. So to move along, the second is to retest if fail. That's a matter of retesting the blood pressure if there should be a failure, meaning the patient doesn't have the cuff on or he moves during a measurement. It will allow you to select, and we have it set that there will be a retest if there's a failure. Next is English and Chinese. You can change that if you wanted to, but obviously we're set to English now. Keep it there. We'll move on to adjust time. This is simply for setting the time of the day in the device. To set it, you click on R and go through the menu to set the time. We're going to pass that. Next is to select timing. I'm going to show you that. In this case, there are 6 timing intervals. This refers to the ambulatory blood pressure, what you want in terms of parameters during the daytime and the nighttime. And there are 6 preset timing periods. So you can choose which you want just by clicking modify and then exit. In this case, we're just going to leave the standard number 1. We'll click on right and we're back out of that menu. Next is pacemaker detect. If you want pacemaker detect and recording set or not set, you go into this with the R and the L and you select that. We'll pass that. It's a simple selection. Next is exit. We're going to select R, exit out of there. At this point, the recorder, about recorder tells you the model, the serial number, and the voltage of the batteries. Not much to look at there, but that's what it is. To start the recorder, you click, if you're ready and the patient is set up, you click on the R button, and then it gives you a choice if this is to be Holter and ambulatory blood pressure together, Holter only, ambulatory blood pressure only, or you can return back. In this case, we're going to do ambulatory blood and blood pressure together. So we're going to select that. It takes us to the time of day. The fact that we have the heart and the arm means we selected them both. We're now on the arrow, which in a message start recorder. If I click the R button, at this point, it's going to go forward and begin the study, which you have set up for a given period of time. If I click over to the arrow on the right, one more step, it will abort us out of here. In this case, we're going to start by pushing the R button. It's going to erase the memory, and it begins the test. And that's it. At the end of the time period designated, when the patient brings the device back, you simply remove the battery in the back, remove the memory card, load the memory card into the card reader, open the software, and download the data and perform your analysis. That's the conclusion of the overview of the Model 2301 and 2302 combined unit. Thank you very much for your attention.